there is a guiding principle in teaching decoding that I'd like to start with. And this is also what I'd like to end with in this session for this afternoon. Everybody, can you read what it says there? 1. Do you agree with that? Yes. The reading here that I am talking about is reading with comprehension. You get it? And I think we are on the same level, right? When we talk about reading, what we refer to is reading with comprehension. So, ngayon, kapag tama ang pagturo natin sa ating mga estudyante, mababasa nila at mauunawaan dapat. Hindi ang German, kundi kung ano man wika ang tinutukoy natin. Dahil ang pinag-uusapan natin ngayon ay ilang wika ba? Meron tayong mother tongue, may Filipino, at merong English. Okay. So, let me start by giving the aims for this aspect of teaching, which is decoding. When we say decoding, are we clear as to what decoding means? What does decoding mean? Decoding. Come on. Yes.
Reading.
Yes, reading. Okay, so what are the aims of teaching decoding? Or in some books, you will have word recognition. And even in some materials, you will have word attack. They all mean the same thing. Okay, so it aims to develop decoding and encoding abilities. What is encoding? Very good. Encoding. So in this part, we will talk about how do we develop reading as well as writing. It develops word reading, word recognition, spelling, vocabulary, comprehension, writing sentences, and paragraphs. So basically, what we will try to talk about would center on the second bullet. It is a process of transferring oral language into what? Printed language. Okay. I know that this has been mentioned in the previous sessions, but this is center to our understanding so that we can teach our students well. Again, we transfer oral language into printed language. That is one of our aims when we teach decoding. So, when we talk about the mechanical aspect of reading and writing, we don't stop there. Because what is also important would be, okay, meaning aspect. That is very important, the comprehension aspect. So, I go back to the 3 circles which you have encountered a few days ago, correct? Mm-hmm. This is not new to you. Am I right?
Yes.
Okay, but let me just emphasize or highlight it once again. These are the 3 requirements for anyone to learn to read. First would be experience. It's important that we have the experience that we can, or let's look at children. Let's not look at ourselves. But when I try to understand this, when I was still a student in education, I always try to look at my own schema. But for now, please look at your students. So the experiences of your students will be expressed in some form, maybe in a very rich form of oral language, or maybe it is not rich, correct? Some may not want to talk so much. But those students who have rich experiences would have many things to talk about. Is that right? Okay. Now, when the child is at this stage, the way that he would learn about the world would be by talking, by speaking, by asking. The 3rd circle here would read as, what does it say?
Printed.
Okay, which means that when we get to the stage when we are teaching our students printed symbols. Okay, we are making them familiar with printed symbols, making them read perhaps or learn the sound letter correspondence. They will be successful here only if it is grounded in very rich oral language, which is grounded in a big circle of experience. It sounds very simple, right? We are talking here about the child's first language. You get it? First language. Because when we teach the child a second language, it becomes, there has to be more circles that would come into the picture. Okay, I will give, let's look at this one. Okay, so that is for the first language. Okay, there is a transfer here. Would you know what transfer would mean? Actually, when we were learning this, we called this learning to read part the transfer stage. Who would like to tell us why it's called transfer? Anyone? Because the child is learning that oral language can be put down in print, and print can be read and spoken. There is the transfer from the two circles. Okay, is that clear? Would that be very clear for us? Okay. That is why it helps when we teach, when we write down what children say a picture or a drawing is all about, right? And they would attempt to read something that comes from them. So, what happens when we are talking about a second language? Okay. While I will go back to this later, I'll just like to elaborate on it now. Experience is the same, correct? But I need to be able to know the language for that or the words for that in a second language. Okay, for example, I only know two languages. Okay, I only know Tagalog or Filipino. Tagalog, Filipino is very highly similar, and English. Wala po akong ibang wika. Okay. So, dahil ang unang wika ko ay Filipino, nahirapan ako sa Ingles ng bata ako. Ngayon, kailangan ang mga karanasan ko ay marinig ko na ginagamit sa Ingles. Kaya ang nanay at tatay ko, sinusubukang kausapin kami ng Ingles nung pumapasok na kami sa eskwelahan. That is to build and make my oral language in English very big. So that when I read something or anything in English, I will have or I can make sense of it. You get it? Now, it again sounds very simple, so I will give you an example as to how a child goes through this. I'm talking about a little boy. Okay, first language is like me. His first language is Filipino or Tagalog. Metro Manila Tagalog. Metro Manila Filipino. Tinuturuan ko sila magbasa ng Ingles. Siya ay kinder. Okay. So, I was in the family of Ann. Ano nga ang Ann words? Can, fan, tan, ran. Yan po ang aming leksyon nung linggong yon o nung ilang araw na yon. Okay. Before I teach them these words to read, to blend, I would always start with pictures. So I flash the pictures. And I would name the pictures and make actions. Okay? For example, can. When they see the picture of a can, they need to have an action for that at the same time. So can, tan, fan, etc. And then I would present the words, the flashcards of words, which we will read. Now, after that, I removed the pictures already. So he was reading the words. I tell them, whenever you blend, when you put together the sounds, there should be a screen in your mind, like a TV screen, because there should be a picture. That is the comprehension part. Okay, so when we came to the word van, tumigil na siya. Sabi niya, van. Diba ganun po ang simula nila sa pagbabasa? Struggle, blending everything together. Ganun po siya nagbabasa. Van. So tanong ko, anong nakikita mo? Anong nakikita mo dyan sa screen? Teacher nung wala eh. Teka, o sige, isipin mo mabuti, meron tayong larawan nun. Okay. So after some minutes, wala talaga. Siyempre, tutulungan ko na, hindi ba? Pinakita ko. Alam niyo po kung anong sabi niya. Teacher nung naman eh. Hindi naman yan van eh. FX yan. Okay. I learned a lot from that experience. Whenever the responses of my students teach me how to teach, I learn from them how to teach them. So what did that experience tell me? I am exposing him to the word van, or the family of AN, which he does not have an oral language for. Because at home, his father will not tell him, bilisan mo anak, bilisan mo, sasakay na tayo sa van. Diba? Dali anak, dalian mo. Sasakay na tayo sa FX. So para sa kanya, van yung FX. Okay. Or my picture perhaps resembles an FX. Okay. So, do you see the gaps there? Why the child is not able to transfer? He is not able to transfer because simply for the reason that I am presenting this circle and this circle is small. He may have the experience which is big. Kasi kay English, kay Tagalog naman yan, parehong karanasan, pero kailangan niya muna marinig, magamit ang mga salita na kailangan kong ituro dito. Okay? And I would say that that would be the reason why many times we say that, why do my students do not comprehend? Why do they not get here? Because they don't know what they are reading. They don't understand it. Is there a solution? Of course, there is a solution. What's the solution? They have a small circle. Make it very, very big. Make this circle very big. Make it rich. Okay, and that is our job as teachers. Okay, now, let me go back to some more aims. This is the time, the decoding is the time when the child learns the rudiments of word reading and spelling. And I would like to highlight this part. Tell me the important or the keywords in this second bullet. Come on. What are important words? Okay, very good. Ano pa po? Okay, very good. These are things that we need to see, highlight, and ensure that is done in instruction. Okay, systematic. Multi-sensory. So it's not purely paper and pencil, the way that we teach. We should move away from that. Sequential. So, systematic, sequential, there has to be an organized way of doing it. Okay? So there. Those are the important keywords. The content in decoding include early writing, phonological and phonemic awareness, and beginning reading and writing. We will have to work on a lot of multisensorial instructional materials to meet these objectives, and we should expose them to a wide range of print for them to develop decoding. So now, somebody mentioned, the one who was introducing me, thank you, that I'm going to talk about the domains. Yes, but not all. Okay? So, we will only focus for this session on the domains that in color purple. Okay? So, what are these domains? Phonological awareness, alphabet knowledge, word recognition, fluency, spelling, handwriting, or writing. So that would be the focus for this afternoon. Now, moving from here, I just like to present this model to everybody. This is a modified cognitive model by McKenna. And I just like you, I know there are very many squares, but look only at this one, which is, what does it say?
Reading comprehension.
Okay. What this model is telling us is all of these are needed for the child to learn to read with understanding. But look, we will focus on the upper part for this afternoon. What are these? Phonological awareness, print concepts, decoding and sight word knowledge, fluency in context, automatic word recognition. That is our goal, for them to be fluent, and then they would read words automatically, not uh, not not struggling to read. All of these would help reading comprehension. But what this model is showing us is that these are not the only things important. Okay? There are many other things that were discussed in the past few days that are within the other boxes, but we will focus on the upper part. Okay, so for teaching decoding, for teaching all of those domains that we have seen in the screen, the method that we will use, or best method to use, would be explicit teaching. And I know that Prof. Portia has talked about it already. Correct? Tama po ba?
Yes.
Okay, and I know you are all aware about what explicit teaching means. Okay? But let us review very quickly. We need to present the lesson. We need to model. We need to, and then we need to, and what's the next part?
Independent.
Okay, very good. Okay, and then you can have evaluation. Okay, so these are the main parts of the lesson plan that we would need for developing alphabet knowledge, phonological awareness, word recognition. So take note, okay? So we use it for language. We use it also for decoding. Okay. Also, in general, I'd like to talk about the basic principle we will use in the lesson plan for these domains. We are anchoring our instruction on the principle of scaffolding by Vygotsky. He was discussed the past few days. Was he?
Not yet.
You haven't met him yet?
Sa K to 12.
Sa K to 12? Okay. Is he your friend? Ka-FB nyo na po ba siya? He should be our friend in the classroom, every teacher's friend in the classroom, so we can really use scaffolding. Okay? But what does it really mean? It really means that the teacher teaches, guides, providing support until the student can do the skill on his own. Take note that in this screen, you see the parts of the lesson plan. Do you? Of explicit teaching, I mean. What are the parts of explicit teaching? Number 1, presentation. Who presents?
The teacher.
Let me highlight that. I know also when we do training like this, then we have micro teachings in the end, and that is a very good way of looking at delivery because we are able to correct the way instruction is done. Many teachers would tell me, but we are taught that we have to draw out the answer from the students. And I would say that, yes, we have to do that. But look, the first part of the lesson plan for explicit says presentation, not by the student. It's presentation by the teacher. Because what if they give a wrong answer? How can that be the model? You get it? So for this part, for explicit teaching here, the presentation, the introduction, the first part should be done by the teacher. What's the second part? Modeling. Okay, modeling by the teacher, then you can now ask for examples. If you think your students are able to. Because when I know my students cannot, I don't ask for examples. You get it? Because that is the modeling part. I always have to make sure that when you say model, everything has to be correct. How can you anchor learning on something that may be incorrect or something that would have error? Okay? What's the third part? Guided practice. The teacher guides providing support. And I want to highlight this because we notice that this part is not fully done in the classroom. Because teacher thinks that if there is a seat work, that is guided. No, not necessarily. Like after the lesson, then there's modeling. After presentation, there's modeling. And then, okay, let's answer the exercises on the board. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Is that guided? No. That is independent, right?
Yes.
Pinapagawa ko mag-isa eh. That is independent. Okay? What truly is guided? It's providing support. Okay. We should provide support, gradually releasing the full responsibility for learning to the student. Okay? So, please take note of that when we do training, that it has to be scaffolded. I would like to give an example. For example, I am teaching the family. I'll go back to the same example. I'm teaching the family of AN. So I start with pictures, presentation, correct? I start with pictures, I start with words, then I follow it up with words. I do presentation, I model how to read the words properly, okay? And then I need guided practice. What is guided practice? I can have guided practice by making them, usually what we do for guided practice is a game. So the children will be motivated. And it's not independent. Their scaffold can be a classmate. So it can be by pairs. So they can work together. Or I can be the scaffold also. But not really asking them to do it alone and independently. Not a seat work that they will do on their own.